My fiancé demanded I forgive and forget after his sister tried to sabotage my green card interview. She told immigration I was marrying for papers. My fiancé asked me to just move past it because she's family. So I left, and a few months later she got a call from ICE. So here's the context. I'm originally from Colombia, born and raised in Medellin, and I came to the US on a student visa for grad school. I ended up staying for work afterward, and long story short, that's where I met Daniel. We hit it off so fast it felt kind of unreal. The banter, the way he made me laugh, how he'd always walk on the outer side of the sidewalk, all that cute gentleman stuff you don't expect to still exist. Fast forward a year and a half, and we were engaged. He proposed at this rooftop bar in Chicago, right by the river. It was cheesy and magical, and honestly, I was so in love it didn't even feel real. Now, the only thing hanging over our heads at the time was my immigration status. My work visa was expiring soon, and we had already started talking to an immigration attorney about adjusting my status based on our marriage. Not gonna lie, that process is no joke. Interviews, joint bank accounts, proof of relationship, like they dig into your whole life. But I was ready for it. Now, here's where crap starts spiraling. Daniel has a younger sister, Emily. She was always weird with me. Not outright rude, just this passive-aggressive type where you leave every conversation wondering if she was trying to insult you or if you're just being sensitive. You know the vibe. She'd make little comments like, "Oh, you're so lucky to marry into citizenship," or, "Oof, I bet your family is thrilled you landed an American." Like, girl, I have a whole degree, I speak 3 languages, and I was literally recruited out of grad school. I'm not out here gold digging for a green card. Chill. But I always let it go for Daniel, 'cause that was his sister and they were close. She had a rough patch a couple years back, and he basically raised her when their mom passed away. I respected that, and honestly, I thought maybe she would warm up eventually. Spoiler alert, she never did. Right before our green card interview, like literally the week before, Emily started acting even weirder. She'd pop up at our apartment uninvited, asking Daniel weird questions like, "Are you sure she's in this for love? And don't you think it's all happening a little fast?" Daniel told her to back off, and I appreciated that, but something in my gut was already screaming. I started double-checking our documents. I even made extra copies of all our photos and text history, just in case something went wrong. And then, the day before our interview, it hit the fan. I got a call from our lawyer first. She sounded pissed. "Did you know someone submitted an anonymous tip to USCIS claiming your relationship is fraudulent?" I was shook. I literally felt the blood drain from my face. My heart was pounding so loud I barely heard what she said next. Apparently, someone had emailed a report to immigration with fake screenshots of me DMing some guy saying I was just using Daniel for papers. Like graphic fake screenshots. They had my profile photo, my tone of voice, even phrases I'd actually used in real messages. It looked scarily real, except I never wrote them. Y'all, I almost threw up. Our lawyer told us not to panic, that she'd help us submit a counter affidavit and evidence that our relationship was real. But we had to be prepared for a way more intense interview now. And that's when Daniel did the unthinkable. He hesitated. Like, while I was out and crying and scrambling to pull together every legit thing I could find to prove our relationship was real, this man looked me dead in the eye and said, "Do you think maybe there's some truth to what they said? Like, are you sure this isn't partially about staying here?" Bro, I couldn't even breathe. I was like, "Are you serious right now?" That's when I realized he wasn't really on my side. Not all the way. Anyway, we made it through the interview. Barely. I cried through half of it, and Daniel was cold the whole time. Just stiff and weird and robotic. When they asked him basic stuff about me, he kept fumbling the answers. I had to correct him twice. Our lawyer said it looked bad. Like really bad. Afterward, I confronted him. I was like, "Be honest. Do you believe I'm using you?" And instead of answering me, he deflected. He said, "We'll talk about it later. I'm just stressed. You're not the only one going through something, okay?" That's when I knew. Something was off. That night, while he was asleep, I took his laptop. I didn't even feel guilty. I was done playing nice. And guess what I found? Y'all, I found the original folder where Emily had drafted the fake screenshots. She did it. She literally used an AI tool to clone my writing style, photoshopped fake DMs, and emailed them to USCIS from a burner Gmail. I couldn't believe it. What kind of twisted person does that? Okay, so I'm sitting there staring at this folder on Daniel's laptop. The folder where Emily literally labeled the files immigration stuff. Like, girl wasn't even trying to hide it. There were screenshots, a whole fake email draft, a notes doc with timestamps to make it look realistic, and a script titled Things to Say If Questioned, like she was prepping for an audition or something. I took screenshots of everything and emailed it to myself. Then I just sat there in the dark, shaking. Morning comes. Daniel wakes up like nothing happened. Stretches, yawns, looks at me like, "You okay?" And I was like, "Sit down. Now." So I pull up the email on my phone and shove it in his face. "Recognize this?" He looks, confused at first. Then he turns pale, like ghost-level pale. And his mouth opens like he wants to say something, but nothing comes out. I didn't even wait. I said, "Your sister did this. She made fake DMs and tried to frame me to immigration. She could have gotten me deported, Daniel. Deported. And you had the file just sitting on your laptop like it was nothing. And you know what he says? She didn't mean it like that." I swear, I almost passed out from the sheer stupidity of that sentence. I was like, what part of this is a misunderstanding? She tried to destroy my life. And this man, this grown man, he has the audacity to say, look, I'm not defending her, but she's my sister. She was just trying to protect me. Protect you from what? A loving fiancé? A stable relationship? A future? I was done. But wait, it gets worse. Instead of cutting her off or even confronting her, Daniel goes, let's just talk to her, okay? Please. I'll set it up, just give her a chance to explain. So now I'm sitting in this emotional blender of rage, heartbreak, and pure disbelief, and somehow I agree to meet with her. Why? I don't even know. Closure? Hope? Maybe a tiny part of me still wanted him to do something, to pick me. We meet at this brunch spot she picked, like it's a cute catch-up and not a full-on betrayal summit. She walks in smiling like she just won an Oscar, gives me the fakest hug known to mankind, and goes, hey babe, you look amazing. I didn't even say hi. I just dropped my phone on the table with her little Photoshop files open and said, explain this. Emily blinked again, then tilted her head like, oh, you weren't supposed to see that. Excuse me? I go, you tried to get me deported. You lied to a federal agency. You framed me. And your first reaction is, oops. She shrugs and goes, I just thought you weren't the right fit for my brother. It wasn't personal. I literally said, you could have ruined my life. That's not personal? She leans back like she's bored and says, I kid you not. Well, if you had nothing to hide, you had nothing to worry about. That's when Daniel finally speaks. And what does he say? Okay, Emily, that was too far. Too far? Bro, she committed immigration fraud and that's too far? I stood up. I looked Daniel dead in the eye and said, if you don't cut her off, I'm done. And guess what he said? She's family. That's it. That's all he said. So I left. I grabbed my purse, walked out of that stupid brunch place and didn't look back. He chased after me, of course. Called, texted, emailed, even showed up at my apartment later that night, begging me to just move past it. Said things like, she didn't mean it, we can heal from this, and can't you just forgive and forget? And I told him, this isn't a spilled drink, Daniel. This is my actual life. I blocked his number that night. And when I tell you I cried for 3 days straight, I mean the kind of crying where your eyes feel like sandpaper and even water hurts. Because it wasn't just betrayal. It was the realization that the man I loved, the man I was ready to build a life with, chose silence over justice. Chose loyalty to toxicity over loyalty to me. And I thought that was the end. But nah, this story wasn't even halfway done. Because a few months later, Karma decided to pay Emily a little visit. So let me set the stage. It's been about 3 months since I walked away from Daniel and his gaslight sympathizer of a sister. I had moved into a tiny studio, started therapy, and was slowly rebuilding my peace. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. And the green card process? Yeah, still messy. Because thanks to Emily's little stunt, our case got flagged for review. I had to go through another round of interviews, more affidavits, more digging into my personal life. Even my emails were being combed through. I swear, at one point I started triple-checking every grocery receipt like, is this enough proof I'm a real person? But I was determined. I didn't come all this way just to let some petty girl wreck my future. I pushed through, and I kept every single receipt. Now, here's the twist. About 2.5 months after I blocked Daniel, I get a message from an old mutual friend of ours, Ally. We weren't super close, but she and I had brunch once with Daniel's friend group, and she always seemed chill. The message said, hey, not sure if you've heard, but Emily's in some serious trouble. ICE showed up at her work. Something about a visa issue? Bro, I literally dropped my phone. Turns out, and you can't make this up, little miss, I'm here to protect my American brother wasn't even a US citizen herself. Yeah, she was here on an expired student visa. Apparently, she had overstayed by a lot. Like multiple years. But she'd been using a past aunt's social security number to apply for jobs. And when ICE got a tip-off about some suspicious activity involving forged documents, boom, they opened an investigation. Now you might be thinking, wait, did you tip them off? Let me just sip my tea real quick. Okay, so here's what really happened. I didn't directly call ICE. I'm not out here trying to get people deported just for revenge. But I did pass everything I had, all the fake screenshots, all the metadata, every proof of her sabotage, to my immigration lawyer. 'Cause I needed to protect myself. In case USCIS ever circled back asking questions, I wanted it on record. This girl tried to commit fraud in my name, and apparently one of the things she did triggered a much deeper audit, 'cause some of her files, the ones she photoshopped, were traced back to her IP address, her work IP address. Yup, sis was committing digital forgery on company Wi-Fi. So when I tell you Karma showed up in heels and a fitted dress, I mean it walked confidently into her office, wearing a badge. ICE agents showed up. At her desk. According to Ally, it was a scene. Emily tried to play dumb at first, like she didn't even know what they were talking about. But once they brought up identity theft and misuse of federal documents, game over. And here's where it gets juicy. Daniel tried to call me again. Yup. After all that. After choosing her over me. After watching me cry and still asking me to forgive and forget. Now that his precious sister was facing actual legal consequences, suddenly I was the safe space again? Nah. No, sir. He left me this long voicemail, voice shaky, saying he didn't know the whole truth, and that he was so sorry for not believing me. And if there's anything you can do to help her, please, cause she's scared. Bro, girl wasn't scared when she was forging texts in her apartment with her ring light on. I didn't say a word. But let me tell you what I did do. I poured myself a glass of sangria, sat on my couch, and played that voicemail back like it was a lullaby. I wasn't being petty. I wasn't wishing her harm. But for the first time in months, I felt safe, seen, and believed. And that was enough. But Emily? Oh, she wasn't done spiraling yet. Because girl had one last Hail Mary, and somehow it made things even messier. So I thought that was it. Karma done. Story over. Emily got busted, Daniel got ghosted, I got peace. Nope. That would have been too easy. Emily still had one more chaotic plot twist in her back pocket. So get this, about a week after her little ICE incident, someone sends me a link. I'm half asleep, it's midnight, I'm about to do my nightly doom scroll when I see it. It's a screen recording of Emily on Instagram Live. Y'all, she went live, like full-on camera-to-face rant mode. And when I say it was a meltdown, I mean it was the digital version of flipping a dinner table and lighting it on fire. She's sitting in her apartment, wearing a hoodie and smudged eyeliner, with a bottle of white wine on the table like she's doing some low-budget reality show confessional. And the caption? The truth. I'm done protecting everyone. Immediately I'm like, what is she doing? She starts off all shaky, trying to act like she's the victim. Hey guys, I don't usually do this, but I just feel like I need to tell my side before the lies get out of control. I'm sitting there like, lies? Girl, that's actually you who made the lies. She starts talking about how people are spreading rumors and how her family betrayed her. Says she's being set up by someone who's jealous and wanted to tear her family apart. I almost choked. Because then she goes, let's talk about my brother's ex, the one who tried to scam her way into a green card by pretending to love him. I was floored. She starts dragging me by name. No filter, full-on slander. Saying I manipulated Daniel, that I tricked immigration, and that the reason she sent the screenshots was to protect the country. Not even her brother. The country, y'all. Like she thinks she's some kind of patriotic vigilante. And the comments? Going nuts. Some people were eating it up, but a lot of them were like, girl, you're literally describing a crime. And sis, this isn't the flex you think it is. But she keeps going. And then, and this is where the universe just blesses me, she accidentally reveals everything. She's rambling, waving her hands around, getting more and more worked up. And in the background, her laptop screen is visible. Guess what's open? The file directory. With the same exact folder I found on Daniel's laptop, immigration stuff. I kid you not. She was literally exposing herself on live. In real time. You could see the document names, the date stamps, even the draft email titled USCIS Tip Final. People in the comments started catching on. I saw one person type, girl, you just showed your receipts against yourself. Another said, this live is going to be used in court. LOL. It was a glorious, flaming wreck. I didn't even need to do anything. I just watched, sipped my sleepy tea, and let her spiral. By the next morning, it was everywhere. Screenshots on Reddit, TikToks dissecting the live, Twitter threads going, when the villain outs herself. Even Daniel texted me. Yup. Again. I didn't know she'd go this far, I'm so sorry. I didn't reply. Because at that point, I wasn't even mad, I wasn't even shocked. I was just done. She told on herself. Publicly. Loudly. With bad lighting and terrible Wi-Fi. And the best part? That live got picked up as evidence. My immigration lawyer called me 2 days later and said, so your case has been cleared. USCIS is no longer investigating. Also, they've flagged her for further review. Y'all. I almost cried. Not because I wanted her to suffer, but because for once the truth actually worked. I didn't have to scream or beg or prove myself to people who should have had my back from day one. She did the damage herself. And still, even with all that, she kept trying to play the victim. She messaged me after everything with this long monologue like, I'm sorry you felt hurt. I didn't mean for things to go this far. I just wanted to protect my brother. I hope we can move forward and heal. I didn't respond because, babe, I already healed. Just not in the way you expected. So yeah, after all that drama, the betrayal, the legal mess, the literal Instagram live meltdown, I was standing in the wreckage of what used to be my life with Daniel. And weirdly, it felt peaceful. I didn't realize how much noise I had been living with until it was gone. The second-guessing, the people-pleasing, the emotional tightrope I was walking every time I was around his family. It was like someone finally cut the mic on all that background chaos. And it gave me space. Space to breathe, to feel, to remember who I was before all of it. Because somewhere along the line, I had started molding myself to fit what they wanted. Smiling through jabs, brushing off red flags, trying to be good enough for a man who should have been in my corner without hesitation. And girl, never again. So I did what anyone trying to reclaim their life would do. I bought myself a chunky journal from Target, filled it with every single feeling that had been clogging up my chest, and started mapping out what I actually wanted. Not what would look good on paper. Not what would make my ex regret losing me. Just what I needed to feel whole again. I booked solo dates. Went to see movies alone. Sat in cafes for hours with no company except a playlist and a pastry. It was weird at first, being alone with my thoughts. But then, it started to feel like freedom. I dyed my hair. Finally got bangs, even though the internet says not to do it during emotional breakdowns. But hey, they were actually cute. I reconnected with my best friend back home. I even taught a few virtual Spanish classes just for fun, something I hadn't done since college but always loved. And the best part? I started volunteering with an immigration support group, helping women prep for interviews, translate documents, understand their rights. 'Cause I knew how terrifying it felt to be in that room with your whole future on the line. I knew what it felt like to have your truth questioned. And I didn't want anyone else to feel like they were facing it alone. Funny enough, that group is actually how I met Leo. Y'all, I wasn't looking for anything. At all. I was so far out of the dating game I didn't even know what the cool apps were anymore. But Leo, he just showed up like this calm, grounded, supportive energy. One of the women I was helping introduced us. He's a paralegal who volunteers on the legal side of the program. Our first conversation was literally over forms and printer issues. Romantic, I know, but from the jump it felt easy. No games. No walking on eggshells. Just real. He didn't flinch when I told him what I'd been through. Didn't try to fix it or minimize it. He just listened. Like really listened. And one night when I told him about the whole thing, the fake screenshots, the ICE call, the forgive and forget moment, he didn't say some cheesy line. He just looked me in the eye and said, "That should have never happened to you. I'm glad you got out." That was it. That's when I knew I wasn't going back. Daniel tried to reach out again, by the way. Sent this long apology email with bullet points and everything. Said he was in therapy, that he realized how much he let me down, that he still loved me. And maybe a year ago I would have melted. I would have read that and cried and wondered what if. But now? I read it once, closed my laptop and never opened it again. Emily? She ended up taking a plea deal for the fraud charges. Got fined, had to do community service, and she's officially on the watch list for anything immigration related. She can't apply for a visa of her own for several years, and her work authorization? Gone. She tried to make herself the gatekeeper of who deserves to be here, and lost her own access. Poetic. And me? I finally got my green card. Came in the mail on a random Thursday. I held it like it was an Oscar or something. Alright, so picture this. It's a sunny Sunday afternoon, early spring. I'm in my little studio apartment with the windows cracked open just enough to let the breeze roll in. I've got Nora Jones playing low in the background and I'm meal prepping like I've got my whole life together. A quick spoiler, I didn't. But I felt like I did. And then the email came in. From Daniel. Again. It wasn't a novel this time. No desperate paragraphs, no bullet points or emotional blackmail masked as reflection. It was just 2 lines. I know I don't deserve it, but if you ever want to talk, even just for closure, I'll be here. Always. I stared at it for a second, and then I realized something. I didn't need closure from him because I had already given it to myself. It didn't come in some grand movie-style epiphany. It came slowly, quietly, over a dozen small moments. Like the first night I slept soundly without dreaming about that immigration interview. Like the time I laughed so hard with my coworker that I snorted my coffee and didn't even care. Like when I FaceTimed my mom and told her everything and she just looked at me through the screen and said, "I'm proud of you, not because of what you went through, but because of how you came out." And most of all, when I looked in the mirror one morning, no makeup, messy hair, oversized hoodie, and thought, wow, I like this version of me. That girl? She wasn't begging anymore. She wasn't shrinking herself to fit into someone else's family dynamic, or tolerating disrespect just because it was wrapped in a smile and called love. She was done explaining her worth to people who only saw her as convenient when it suited them. So no, I didn't reply to that last email. Instead, I sat down at my desk, pulled out my green card, and just stared at it for a minute. Not because I needed the validation, but because it reminded me of every time I almost gave up, every time I cried in silence, every time someone tried to tell me I didn't belong, and I proved them wrong just by existing. And y'all, that's the closure. It's not always some big moment with fireworks or dramatic speeches. Sometimes it's just knowing you're not carrying their crap with you anymore. Sometimes it's just finally feeling light. Now, before I wrap this up, because yes, I know I've been rambling like a podcast no one asked for, I want to leave you with this. If someone shows you who they are when things get hard, believe them. If your peace costs someone else's ego, let it. And if a man ever says, "Can't you just forgive and forget?" after his sister tried to get you deported, babe, run. Don't walk. Run. I don't regret walking away. I don't regret choosing myself. And now, I've got a job I love, people around me who actually show up, and a version of myself I'm proud to wake up to. So yeah, I might not have gotten the fairy tale romance I thought I was headed for, but I got something better. I got me back. Honestly, if you told me a year ago that my fiancé's sister would try to sabotage my green card interview with fake DMs and I'd end up watching her accidentally expose herself on Instagram Live, I would have thought you were pitching the next season of some chaotic Netflix drama. But no, that was real life. My life. And here I am now, still healing, still growing, still occasionally staring at my green card like, wow, she really tried to snatch this out of my hands with a Canva template and a Gmail account. It's kind of funny in hindsight. Like, not haha funny, more like the type of funny where you laugh mid-breakdown in the shower because you realize just how insane things got before you finally hit the enough button. And even now, every so often, I still get these little pings, texts, emails, random Facebook likes from people orbiting Daniel. It's like they want to test the waters, see if I've softened up, if maybe I'll finally come back around. But let me be clear, there is nothing for me back there. Not in that apartment, not in that brunch, Not in that voicemail where he asked me to move past it like I was being dramatic about federal sabotage. I don't care if he's doing the whole working on himself arc now. I hope he is. Truly. But I'm not his plot twist. I'm not his redemption arc. I'm the lesson. And Emily? Well, last I heard, she's trying to become a digital creator now. She does these little TikToks about truth and healing while avoiding literally all accountability. I could expose her again, I could clap back, I could make her life harder. But why? I'm too busy watering my plants, minding my business, and eating croissants on balconies with men who don't flinch when I talk about where I came from. So if you're reading this and you've ever been made to feel like your love wasn't enough, or like your truth wasn't believable unless it came from someone else's mouth, I see you. You're not too much. You're not too intense. You're not imagining it. Sometimes the bravest thing you'll ever do is stop explaining yourself and walk away. Anyway, I've got a new playlist, a half-read book, and a candle burning that smells like peace and cinnamon. So if you'll excuse me, I'm off to ignore Daniel's last email, once again, and maybe scroll Zillow for an apartment with a kitchen that doesn't look like regret. Thanks for listening. Seriously.